money.
About economic liberation and freedom.
Critical conversations to invigorate our communities through Black-led CDFIs.
But most importantly, we want people to create wealth.
When we look at our communities, we still see a big disinvestment.
Going from resourceful to resourced.
CDFIs have that high touch. They understand their customers. They know how to reach out to those customers. They stay in touch with those customers.
We are trying to create job makers and not just job takers.
Yeah, I've even heard it said recently that great leaders don't lead from the top down, they lead from the bottom up because they're actually lifting everybody.
We have to do more than just being a regular lender.
Don't give me this story about if I teach you how to fish. Give me some money.
That's right. Give me some money. Welcome, everybody. This is Justin Minott from the African American Alliance of CDFI CEOs, and I have J. Avery Frost here from Freedom Equity, Inc., the executive director, doing incredible, revolutionary, and brave work. We're going to get into that a little bit later in the episode. I want to know who's in the digital building, so chime in the chat. Who do we have? What are you up to? What are you excited about for this week, because we want to make sure that we kick it off that way. Now, Jay Avery, I need to know this. You are in a really unique role at Freedom Equity, Inc., doing beautiful work. How did you end up in this space? What is the making of this journey for you?
Well, good afternoon, right? It's like evening,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
Good afternoon, everybody. So I probably had the most non-traditional route to being a leader of a CDFI possible. I often joke, which is not a joke, it's true. I'm the community development in the financial institution, right? Like I come from not this at all. I was an English lit environmental studies major at Denison, a liberal arts institution. And so I came at this organically by doing work in the community. My parents, my people have been doing advocacy work and community building since forever, as far as I'm concerned. My dad started a nonprofit in the 70s where he was doing free business training for Black and minority contractors because we didn't have access, right? Mm-hmm. And so I literally start working in our office, not working, but I was around. So getting by osmosis from childhood, but started working officially in the industry when I was 22. And so I've been at this for about 15 or 16 years. And so it really was my work with the African American Chamber of Commerce. I serve as executive director of our Central Ohio African American Chamber, as well as the exec for Freedom Equity. And it was through that work and like putting in the long, hard work with our business community and getting like, honestly, legitimacy, because if the businesses don't believe in us and me, then it ain't gonna happen. But, you know, did work during COVID at the Columbus Urban League. And they were really supportive of the work that we were doing to set up Freedom Equity. Columbus Urban League was one of the primary partners to start this work, actually at the outset, as well as our primary county, Franklin County, and then One Columbus, which is like the economic development agency for the region. And so those organizations came together to make sure that this work could happen. But I was just doing, not just, but really, I was just doing emergency response for COVID, like at the Urban League. And then we were like, it can't just be this. People can't get paycheck protection. They can't get phone calls back from their banks. People have been with banks. Like I have people who were like, I've been with Chase since Chase was Bank One. If you're from this region, you know, that was a long time ago. And they weren't able to get the feel that they need. I've seen Chase is a great supporter of Freedom Equity. So that's not a continuous kind of conversation. That's just an example. But during that time in 2020, we put together the strategic plan for this work and start putting the bones together and all that kind of stuff. And I will be honest, all through 2021, I was like, so we're going to be like looking for somebody, like we're going to like put out the job post.
Right. You're trying to make yourself the interim. Yeah.
Not even. I was like, I'm project managing this stuff. Like, you know, I'm going to stay over here and do this.
I'm a liberal arts major, you know.
I didn't know what a DSCR was until like 18 months ago. And apparently that's recent, but like think about the language that I've had to learn. And so but that's also help Freedom Equity come at this from a very different perspective, meaning that we have development and coaching at the heart and the core of our work. And the financial product is a tool that we have. That's not the only tool that we have to do this work to grow our businesses, but it is a vital tool. And so I'm coming in refreshed. I didn't work at a bank ever. That wasn't even like my little girl job, like as a teller, like literally. I've been in financial services. It'll be 2 years on March 2nd.
Wow. Wow. Incredible. So I want to know the learning curve in there. So you have the passion, you have the heart. Brilliant. How do you really enter this space? Because there are a lot of people who are scared to enter this space because they don't speak the language. They don't, understand how to navigate this. You jumped in and you're figuring it out. So talk about that and make that real for these big-hearted people who might be discounting themselves from the financial industry, but should be in it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I had a lot of, and still maintain, active imposter syndrome. Like for real, like it's hard to, it's wild. But also I've had imposter syndrome my whole career because I'm always the youngest. I'm always like the most diverse. I check like every box in the boxes, except for like I didn't do military service. Thank you for everybody for their service. But I'm like real, like I'm always the odd girl out. And so it was about being unafraid to ask dumb questions because I just Google, if anybody saw my Google search history, they would think I'm an idiot. Like I have no shame. And now ChatGPT, I'm glad nobody can see that.
Oh yeah.
The thing that people, never mind. But I just ask flagrant questions. And then but there were places where I'd be afraid to ask the question because I'm talking to like people managing millions or billion-dollar portfolios for like traditional financials. And I'm supposed to be like leading stuff. Sorry, excuse me.
No, that's all right. You know who you're talking to. Angela knows. Angela backstage right now. She knows who she's doing
over there. You might need it. Yeah. But it was I kept Investopedia as a bookmark, and I have a list. In every meeting, there would be words that I was like question mark. And I would have to go and learn concepts like the concept like EQ2 investments. When I found out that it just meant that the two words started with EQ, I almost hit somebody. I was like, this is stupid. Like y'all talk about whole concepts. Like, and I was just like,
right.
Like it's that
just
simple.
Making it difficult.
Like what? When I figured out loan loss reserve was just like a savings account, I was just like, y'all made it seem like it was this big calculation and like it's not that serious. And so, but that was it. It was understanding that it's not that serious. Like it's really not that hard to set up a fund. We decided to set up as a nonprofit CDFI on purpose because I believe in nonprofit community development, honestly. So we did that on purpose, but we didn't have to. You can set up a fund right now. And like, if you get somebody to invest in, or if you have money that you out your heart want to lend to other businesses, you don't actually need any sort of special licensure in the state of Ohio to do commercial loans. Yeah, you could do that right now. Like it is not hard. The hard part is making sure you know your mission and your why, and then like sticking to it. That is the hard part, especially in the environment. Like we're very, very granularly focused on our mission, and it's about Black business specifically. But we know that people are expanding their mission and they're like diluting it in some ways. But like, as long as you stick to your mission and you have like your roadmap, then it's less scary, but it's always going to be a little bit burdensome when you just like endeavor into something you've never done before.
Yeah, I love it. I love your mindset so much. And I hope y'all are taking notes no matter what industry you're in. If you have a passion for something, you want to do something, be willing to be a beginner. I think that's the part that like people don't want to suck for a little while, like, or they don't want to have those hard things like I'm on Investopedia or I'm on whatever, like as if it's attached to something. That's the only way you get good. One of my mentors talks about, he said the masters failed more times than the beginners even tried. Like that's the difference, is that the master has literally failed more times than you've even attempted anything, right? And so I just see you on this beautiful path to mastery in this space. So y'all better be paying attention. I want to give some shout outs. The chat is popping today. Keep it coming. I see some of our Alliance staff, Eleanor, Lods, Isis, Erica, Jermaine in the building. Loving seeing that. We got Alliance member Ron Brooks dropping all the fire. Ron, he does that every time. Everybody need to follow Ron Brooks too. That guy, he's the real deal. Everett Sands, that's our guest for next week. So make sure that you tune in next Tuesday to hear Everett Sands too. And it's interesting, you have kind of these different sides of the spectrum, right? You have 2 years in the industry. Everett, I don't even know how many years. Drop that in the chat right now. But like, we're talking playing in the Billies.
Right, and we're talking skill. That's growing skill, right? Like we aspire to grow in scale, like industry is growing. Like that's
Talk more about
there's
that.
a lot
Where
of
are you trying to go with this?
Yeah, like we see ourselves all over the country. There are businesses that that need us everywhere. And I don't necessarily mean that Freedom Equity needs to have a brick and mortar everywhere. I mean, like, we could be doing participations everywhere. We could be like evangelizing. That's been my theme word for this year. Evangelizing. I'm trying to get everybody on my side. But honestly, I do see us growing and growing specifically because we're doing something different. Like, I mean, people are like, what's unique about Freedom Equity? I'm like, actually nothing. We are a traditional CDFI that provides working capital loans. The difference is in the how. The difference is in the tactile nature of us. Like, we're trying to make sure that, and this is something, and I'm just going to tell them and I'm going to email them, but I definitely want to talk to Everett about how are they using technology to reach our folks, because I want to make sure that we do tech enablement into our work, but I also want to make sure that people still like feel like they can get us, right? Like, we have people that just walk into their office and just chat, and that's cool. Like, we want that, but we know that as we continue to grow our capacity and our scale, that's not always going to be something that continues. So it's like, how do we like keep the culture, right? As we grow, that's something that I'm trying to keep an eye on in our third year of service.
Right. So be able to scale while maintaining that high touch piece that makes CDFIs, I think, so unique. I want to riff on that. So why CDFIs? Like, what drew you to this space? It's a very unique space. And what about this resonates for you?
Because I'm a nerd. I was doing research in 2020 in the spring.
Google doing well.
I remember talking to my VP at the Urban League, and I was like, what CDFIs do we have? Like, because I knew that there had been some, and there are some active that have been in the space for some years. Yeah. But like Black-led, focus on business, there didn't seem to be really anything that was going on. And we knew we had this problem, but it was just getting worse and worse because we were actively going through Paycheck Protection, where we self-handed like a couple hundred businesses to banks to get their loans, right? Like, we did applications for them. We got the conversions. We had like went too far, actually, probably. Like, it was a lot of work. But we were just like, we need something. And so I remember it was May of 2020 that we had that conversation. But then in like June or July of 2020, a rep from the city and the county and One Columbus that I had mentioned, they had approached us and say, hey, we think we want to do a CDFI. We want to do all this work around capital access for Black folk. What do you guys think? And we're like, man, we were thinking about that too. And so that's how it really came to be. We never looked at not too much at another structure. We thought about maybe doing a venture capital fund. But then what we were looking at as the immediate pressing need was that most of our folks were looking for working capital around $20,000 to $25,000.
Right. And
we're not looking for major. Right. And so we're like, okay, let's get into that niche for now and look at it as we grow. Because we know that there are a lot of our businesses in that next spot, in that next place up, where they're stuck at $99,000 a year. They're stuck at $150,000 a year, and they cannot they just keep capping. And so it's like, how do we get them the room to grow? Like, how do we give them the fluidity that they need to grow? We keep saying every Black business is to hire somebody. Are we actually positioning them for that? Like, do they have the capital for that? Like, to flow it, but also do they have the knowledge, right? Because shoot, I've managed plenty of things at this point. I've had staff, but this has been different. And this is my largest staff that I think we're a team of 6 now. But there's been plenty of things that we've been learning along the way about, like, the state of Ohio's unemployment or Bureau of Workers' Compensation, about different things that are required when you have W-2 employees that a lot of our folks don't have the awareness of. And there's a whole bunch of extra costs associated with that. And so it's like, this isn't just about giving them money. It's about also putting in that information, which is, again, why CDFI made sense. All of the CDFIs I know that are successful and impactful have technical assistance, and they have loans. They don't just do money. We can't just get the money on the street to a population that might not have had access to have the financial literacy necessary to manage the money. Like, it's not that they can't, but maybe if you have, Freedom Equity has $2.5 million in assets under management right now.
Love it.
When I put 1.5 in the bank, like, I remember the day. Because November 1st. That had never happened to me before. When I'm telling you, I never seen that check it ass. I took a picture.
Right. There's a whole bunch of zeros over there. Yeah.
I was like, what?
You should have printed out one of them big ones. That's what
I should have. If anybody of my friends from the city of Columbus, next time, y'all, we need a big check. Like, for me, I'm a Black kid from the east side of Columbus. I ain't never put that kind of money in the bank. And then like the whole conversations at the bank change. They like, oh, who's managing your money? And do you have a private banker? And we can increase your money market account to 4.6. It was that easy. I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, right. But it's not easy. Ain't nothing easy about getting $1 million.
Right.
Simple. But what this brother told me the other day, he was like, you're gonna see. He was like, it was really hard for you to get that first million. It's gonna be hard for you to get to 10. But from there, it's just exponential. And you're gonna be real mad about it because of how easy it is to flow the money once you have money. And I was like, I hate everybody.
Right. It makes no sense. It's like when I show up to the airport in a button up instead of sweatpants, all of a sudden I'm sir. It's different.
It's different. Shoot, I got me that Clear account and they just be like, okay, ma'am, can we just take you to the bank?
To the front of the line. Right. Yeah.
I don't gotta take my shoes off. Man, the fees are like, I was like, I would have paid for that before. Like if I knew that was like the kind of service.
But this is kind of the piece around privilege, right? Even these smaller things like just access, right? Oh, access to the front of the line or access to a different level of service and all the things that come. Talk about the intersectionality that we were talking about in the pregame here around, being Black in the CDFI space, being a woman in the CDFI space, being young in the CDFI space, and how those kind of layer all in and what you're seeing as some of the inequities in the space.
Oh yeah, add startup, because remember we incorporated in 2021. So like I check all the boxes, like Black, female, queer, inner city, like all of the things, right? And the path to capitalizing freedom equity has been very similar to what we see our businesses go through all of the time. Our businesses are under-resourced, just like our Black-led CDFIs are under-resourced. And if you compound that with being a Black female-led CDFI, holy cow, like it's just taking a lot more effort. And then when we're talking about the startup aspect on top of everything, so it'll be like, oh yeah, we invest in CDFIs. Like I'm not saying a single name because I'm still gonna get that money. But
what their initials are? No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
If their colors are, never mind. But if all of the people you see sponsoring the major events that we all go to every single year, a lot of them have their equations for how they make investments into CDFIs, right? For us, because we're so young and we literally clock 12 months in continuous or 12 months in lending next month.
Wow, congrats.
Right. For us, that's yay, woo. But every time we have conversations, they're like, oh, you need to be lending for at least 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. So we'll come back, right? So everybody wants us to bootstrap before they will invest. And that's fine because we've been able, I tell people, it's like a luck, a prayer, just universal guidance. I don't know how sometimes we got to this exact moment, but we were able to weave it together and get $1.1 million on the street in 10 months.
Wow.
And that's like, and that's like 30 loans. I think our average loan size is like $30,000. And that's a lot of paperwork. That's a lot of moving parts, but that's a lot of need demonstrated, mechanism working demonstrated, like we're showing and telling. So I'm like, so what happens in 1 or 2 years that we didn't do in 10 months?
Yeah.
And then let me know what that is. So that way I can have my checklist of stuff I got to do so I could go for it. Cause the SBA, they tell me you got 12 months, you got to do this, this, and this. Well, I talked to the SBA last month and again this month. They said, okay, as soon as March 29 hits, can you go ahead and submit your application to be a micro lender? Because you will be eligible, right? But I don't get that same kind of transparency from our financial partners who, candidly, we do a lot of your work for you. Because that's part of the
let's talk about it.
Seriously, because part of what we don't talk about seriously with CRA and the CDFI conversation is that we're excusing bad behavior. If all you have to do is make investments to check boxes to get the CRA score, then you're only going to do what you need to do to get the CRA score. You're not making any changes in your own internal policies to make CDFIs non-existent, because we really don't even need to be here. If technically,
right, if this was equitable, right? Yeah.
Right. If we game it all the way out, technically we should be making ourselves obsolete. And so, but in the interim, while we're not, it's not okay for you to say, I only invest in CDFIs of a certain age, or I'm already making investments in a CDFI in your region. But then on the flip side, you got people from your own institution referring me people that couldn't get served at the institution that you're investing in, but then you refuse to invest in me.
Right.
So I'm supposed to do the work for free. Again.
Right.
Understood. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Wow.
I get it. And that's fine, because we have people who are not those folks who are making the investments and who are demonstrating and showing and telling with their dollar and their time that they are invested and committed to the uplift of Black business in Central Ohio. Simple. You can go to freedomequity.org
but to the uplift.
Right.
Right.
To the uplift.
Right.
Right.
Which
and
includes
like,
some
when
lift,
I hear,
it includes using some energy. It's not the idea of an uplift.
That's it, period. I will say, like, they deserve the accolades for it, but I've seen it specifically come out the mouth of people at JP Morgan Chase here in our region, where they're trying to invest in the infrastructure and the ecosystem to grow our small business community, and they are making targeted investments into populations that have been underserved. Like that is impactful and then powerful. And then hopefully, because they do that, other folks will then also make said investments. Right? Because they don't, like, it shouldn't just be one large financial institution. It shouldn't just be one large county. If we're serving a region, and it should be equitable. But the key that I want to say is, I say should because I mean it.
Yeah.
But I do not say should because I think we're like I'm trying to like gimme y'all got to give me this stuff because you got to, because we're not having a conversation right now about reparative thought. We're talking about making investments into this here organization, right? And so you should make the investment because it helps the economy. The more businesses that we have that are ready, willing, and able to compete and that are like paying livable wages, the better, right? We have a lot of multinational corporations trying to locate in Ohio. We do not have a huge, great, strong small business ecosystem to support them. And so it'd be really smart to invest in the organizations that are supporting those people, wouldn't it? Like, sure.
You're investing in your own business down the road, right? Like you're making an early upstream investment in your own business, and it makes so much sense. Yeah, I love this. I love what you're doing. Now, there is something I want to talk about. We had a little bit in our pregame, how people keep calling you brave for doing this work, right? Like you're, capitalizing the Black community. You're out here being outspoken about injustices, and wow, you're so brave. And I know you have an interesting take on that. I want to hear it.
Yeah, it keeps happening more and more, and then it's honestly, sometimes when I hear brave, this is not what they're saying. But sometimes when I hear brave, I feel like I'm being stupid because I'm like, I'm putting myself in harm's way. But literally, usually it's around the conversation about how like just staunch I am with our mission. We support Black business, and like me as an individual, both of my jobs, I run organizations that support Black business, and so I am real particular with it. But with all of the legal challenges and the challenges to affirmative action, I've had conversations with people, Black and white, who will call me brave for the work that we're doing and for refusing to change our mission statement, refusing to dilute our mission and serving a larger population. And all you're saying to me, I swear, all you say to me when you call me brave is that the work is harmful and it is risky and that you're not coming with me along the way. And that is simple because you're telling me from back here. You're telling me from your Zoom camera. You aren't making no investment into what we're doing. You didn't even offer to volunteer nothing in a lot of cases. But you're aware that what we're doing is important. It's necessary. It's also harmful and risky. And I would just say for the first time in my life, I took part in a DEI panel in January, right after MLK Day, where we actually had to have sheriff protection, because somebody had come to the venue the day before because they were mad in a rural county. They were mad that we were coming out there to do a panel about DEI. Okay. So this is 2024 and we had to have sheriff protection. I've never had to have police protection for nothing. And then also part of me, and I know that it was just like the evil twin in my head. I was just like, why they got me coming out here? Like, why they still got us coming out here? They could cancel. This ain't that serious. Like, this could be a Zoom.
Right. It could be virtual panel. Right.
Yes. But then again, it comes that bravery thing and then not countering thing. And I got to be present because this information is important. And I'm almost more so that this audience hears it. But also, I'm not really trying to be nobody's martyr. Like, I'm not in it for that. Like, I'm just like, but the fact that it is still dangerous. I mean, I remember when I was younger getting into this work, my dad told me specifically he didn't want me to get into this work. My dad had been in this work since the 70s. And it wasn't because he didn't think I could do it, it was because he knew it was dangerous. And so, and it's all around dangerous. We see our folks having bad mental health, bad physical health. We literally get threats for doing our work. Like even me, like talking about it and bringing attention to these things is risky because I'm in the middle of a red state, a real big red state, where you go outside of our outer belt and you start seeing the Republican signs, and it becomes a fields of red rather than, you know, fields of blue. And so it's not necessarily smart. It's not necessarily smart raising the awareness to the fact that of the CDFIs in Columbus, 3 of us are Black led, which is really cool. It's really cool. And it might be more than that actually. But it's not always great to talk about because it isn't necessarily safe. And we do expect to be challenged. But I do not expect to back down or to change our mission in any sort of way. And I do actively encourage our allies and advocates and co-conspirators to join us in this work. Like I shouldn't have to, like, we're going to need legal defense. Like, and we know that they're going to try to dry us out with challenges.
Right. It is a part of the tool belt right now.
It is. Yep. And so what's really important, and I heard, and I don't know if she's on here, but a good partner of ours is the State of Ohio Office, Department of Development, Minority Business Office, and their chief, Monica Womack. What she said, I appreciate it, but it's like we're asking people like me, underserved people, to serve underserved people. We have to serve them together. It can't just be us doing it. I'm always that, like, why the one who got hurt got to figure out how to repair? Why is it always that way? Like, always. I mean, it will be that way here in this country until people get more brave.
Yeah, brave. Right, which means that you're coming along with me. Funny little quick story. So my little one's school, she's in pre-K, and they don't have anything up for Black History Month. So I was like, hey, what's the school doing for Black History Month? I got a little Black girl over here, you know, would love to see something. And their response back, like, and they're good-hearted people. This is their response back was like, hey, you know, we just think it's a complicated subject. Right. And do you want to come in and do something? Right. So it's like, okay, so now you're going to like charge one of the few Black families with, you know, the responsibility of going and creating Black history content. And so anyway, my response, I'm going to go back, is like, well, Black families, like, we actually don't have the option of this being too complicated to talk about that early. Like that, it's a privilege to not get to talk about it. Right. To be able to be like, or like to decide like, oh, my kid's old enough to hear about like race things. Like, no, my little girl's like they know in an empowering way, but like they know that there's a reality here that like, I need you to know how to navigate this thing. Right. And Absolutely. So like, even in that, like you're being charged almost with like, okay, you know, underserved serving the underserved. Right. So, well, you know, you go out and do it, you know, and we'll cheer from the back, but not if it costs us something. So I want to talk about practical steps. Like, what does allyship look like? Because to me, it involves risk. Like, if you're not risking anything, you're a cheerleader or a supporter, but not an ally. Like, we're not walking. There's no risk for you. You haven't put your power on the line. You haven't put, you know, whatever on the line. So like, what does that look like for you? And where have you seen it show up? Like some positive examples of that?
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's about, I think true allyship is about risk. And so it could be risking social capital. It could be risking like your time, right? Like it might be a waste of time to do that volunteer or to go to that thing, but who cares? You did it. It helped somebody, right? And then, but actual capital as well. A great example is Kenny McDonald, who is the leader of One Columbus and the Partnership, which is basically it's like a chamber of commerce for 85 corporations, large ones located here. Kenny is an advocate. Kenny will take me and Freedom Equity into spaces that I didn't even know existed. Like one time he came to me and he was like, well, why weren't you in so-and-so? I was like, what was in so-and-so? And it was like, we had this economic development conference. You're supposed to be there. We had these Black-led diverse CDFIs, but it's okay. You were in the room because I was there. And I was like, Yes.
Wow.
That's meaningful. That's during his like brief remarks that he did at a construction summit the other day. He didn't have to, but he mentioned the work that we were doing and how supporting the work we're doing is a way to support this work. And so it's like that's social capital. He has no reason. He has no skin in this game, but he does understand that our success is helpful to the region. And so that is impactful.
And he's using his platform.
He is, and he's using his power. He says, like, just ask. Like, the worst I could say is no. Like, use my network, use my resources. And I've had other people do that as well, where I might, like I said, I got a whole list of banks I'm trying to get. So they're like, let me know who you're trying to meet, and I'll see what I can do. And I have. This is how we're getting different kind of conversations with market presidents and different things, so we can have a conversation, because a lot of this stuff is going to have to come top down to start. To change cultures. Like, why are you making this big investment into this little old company? And because we need to, because we should, because I said so.
Because it's right. That's actually, to me, because it's right. It's the right thing to do. So as you move this forward, what does the future look like for Freedom Equity? Where are you heading? And give us a sense for folks who are listening, how they might be able to join you and link arms on this journey, because I know there's a lot of different ways. So what does the future look like? Take us there, and how can people join you on it? Yeah,
so whether they like it or not, sorry guys, to the board, we're gonna keep expanding, and so they want me to, because we do too, we want to focus and get the mechanism correct, but we're getting calls and requests from different parts of Ohio. And so and now that we have access, finally, we got access to SSBCI dollars.
Come on now, congratulations.
I'm excited. Yes, thank you. Because we're not certified yet, because we couldn't, because it was paused. And so we have advocacy at the state level to get us access. So we're really happy about that. But that's going to help us grow. But then additionally, we will continue to lay in more technical resources and assistance. Like we had in last quarter of last year, we hired a director of business programs, a business support specialist. So we really can continue to wrap our arms around our businesses. But then you'll see, like, people will see us showing up in a lot of ways. But one way that I'm excited about and that people will be able to plug into is a thing that we're calling COINS. It's a bad acronym. It was great at the beginning. I love naming things, but now I'm like, but it stands for consultants. Consultants only if needing services. So basically, like the idea of fractional consultative services, right? But we will be offsetting and subsidizing costs for some of our borrowers and some of our applicants based on where they're at. So no longer can you say, well, I need working capital because I need a business plan or I need equipment or these kind of things. Well, if I could pay for your business plan, if I could pay for that access to that software, if I could do those kind of things, right?
Or the accountant or the whatever who's going to clean up your books.
Right. So we have this platform that helps us facilitate it virtually with scheduling and everything like that. We've gotten consultants who've committed to do it. So the first part will be paid services that we subsidize and do for free. The next layer that I really want people to plug into, and you can contact us through our website, but we are going to expand that to it'll feel not like we're like pilfering ideas, but it will feel like a SCORE-esque. So I want employee resource groups. I want volunteer groups. I want church groups. I want everybody who's doing community service, who say that they want to do more, maybe strategic service. Come and do projects with these businesses. Come and plug in. Come and volunteer 10 hours of your time a month. We'll help you facilitate it. If you don't have 10 hours that month, do 5. Right. But the idea is that more hands make light work. So it can't just be us. We are all understaffed. That is something that we don't talk about enough. CDFI,
but not if we come together, we're not.
Exactly. And so, like, if we can do one place where we can do this kind of work together, that's where we're headed. I'm excited for that. I want people to not have an excuse to say, I didn't know how to help.
Right.
I didn't know how to plug in. I'm like, I'll give you some. And you can't say you don't know where to find no Black business. Because, like, if you search Black business in Columbus, one of our websites will show up. And there's like one of them is even a directory that anybody in the country could sign up for now for free. But the idea is that let's solve for some of these challenges, the barriers for the business and the barriers for the people that should be supporting the business.
Right.
And then because we're the central stakeholder. So then as such, how can we help bridge the gaps and close the gaps and be the safety net? Because I'm sick of us needing one. But we need a safety net.
I love it. And I want to speak to one of the maybe even unintended consequences of what you're talking about is the increased interconnectivity of your ecosystem. And there's some really great research that I would butcher right now around resiliency in direct proportion and capital access and resource access in direct proportion to the interconnectivity of an ecosystem, right? And like these kind of interwoven fabrics, right? So you can, a fabric that's woven really well together, how strong it is, right? And so what you're doing, you're actually creating and increasing resiliency. So I would look into some of that research because you can track some of that impact, right? Like the connectivity and its direct proportion to impact in those communities. So I think something very much worth looking into. All right. So you are raising capital right now. Talk about what does a good capital partner look like on this journey? And I say partner intentionally because these are people investing, not making a feel good thing, right? You have a solid plan, You're deploying capital, and it matters, right? So who's a good capital partner for you?
Yeah, so for me at this point, we're looking for folks who are interested in either, like we're looking for larger investments for our loan portfolio. And so like I mentioned, we haven't been able to access some of those traditional CDFI dollars that financial institutions have available. So that's what I'm looking for. We have shown and we have taken on debt. I think part of the question is, well, all of your money has been philanthropic. Well, no, actually, we have incurred some debt and we're servicing it just fine. But
love it. In case you were wondering. Doing just fine.
It's okay. Yeah, it's just
everybody getting their money.
Right. Yes. Everybody, they get paid when they're supposed to get paid. You know what I'm saying? No, people are we're getting paid. But the key is for me, yes, we're looking for loan portfolio dollars. We are looking for business development dollars. The business development can be offset with volunteerism and contributions from the bank, right? Show up, right? It doesn't have to be just for that. But also, people love you. I understand why they don't, but I don't. We need more unrestricted funds. Like the part of it is like we are constantly grant focused and related, and all of these grants one program that they can put their hat in. Yeah, that's fine. But like sometimes we're building programs to go for these funds. Not me, because that's dumb. Not sorry, guys. Not you know what I mean.
Yeah, I hear you. I already told you in the pregame, we're going for it today. Send it. Ask for forgiveness later.
Right. Sorry, guys. But honestly, having to be beholden to grant cycles and all that kind of stuff, and these metrics that oftentimes don't have anything to do with actual community development, like in an impactful way, those things like waste our time. Like if we are wasting our time with your paperwork and all of these things, then we're not doing the actual work. And then you ask us, well, why do you have all of this administrative overhead? I have to be compliant
to write your
with everything that you're asking. Exactly. Yeah. And it's like we have maybe 10 funders and everybody needs something different on a different timeline and schedule. And only like one of them, two of them say specifically, we want you to be doing organizational capacity building.
Right.
Those are like gold. I almost kissed her. I was like, that is the best thing I've ever heard. Because that's not usually what it is. It's usually like, we're just going to fund you enough to lift this thing off. And then also we want you to touch as many people as possible.
But in the way that we want you to do it.
Yeah. And not a lot of us push back on that the other way, which is this isn't going to be as impactful as you want it to be. And this is why. And this is how many people I can serve with this amount of money. And if that's not okay with you, then I won't take this money.
Right.
And so I know that we've had probably in some respects, some of our slow growth might be my fault because there's some things that I'm not going for. I told you we focus on Black business. We don't focus on minority business. And so if I apply for something and I only serve Black people, they're going to be mad.
Right. That's not aligned. We're not on the same page here.
Right. Yeah. And so, but part of our maturation and mine as well as a leader has been understanding better the mission. And so the mission is we will serve everybody. We serve every small business that comes into our office because we will direct you to whatever resources are necessary because we're resource navigators at the end of the day. But we don't lend to everybody because we're a financial institution and we don't. Right.
That's how you work.
We don't even have to go deeper than that. And we could if we need to. Because we are a special credit program. And under the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, we have protections because Black people are a target population under said act. So we do have protections, but let's just be clear. we don't lend to everybody because it's just simply we don't. Like all of that, even Black folk, I send out denials because we have criteria. We have things that we are looking for, things that we can and cannot do still.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's been a hard pill for some folks to swallow,
Sure.
both the general public and even our own folks, because they think that I'm supposed to give them things, and I say I don't give nobody nothing. I lend them things.
Right.
And
that's right.
I need this money to come back.
No, that's exactly right. So that it can keep going. Like it's not a greedy thing. So can I camp out on this unrestricted dollars thing for a second? Can I say it like I feel it?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
So
please speak it.
When it comes to not giving out unrestricted dollars, or dictating from these philanthropists and people dictating, okay, I'm going to give you these dollars, but this is the exact impact and how you're supposed to do it and all this, to me it actually comes from a really deep unconscious, hopefully, bias and assumption, which is that the philanthropist knows better. And like, if you get rid of that, you change the whole game. If you actually assume that, hey, maybe the people most proximate to this work actually know what's going on. Like maybe the community might solve its own challenges best because it actually knows what's going on. And maybe if I just trusted them to know better than I do from wherever I'm sitting, that they would actually know what this community needs. I think that changes the game. So I think it's an assumption that it's like, well, we'll give you these dollars to help you, but we're going to, we know best. It's very like paternalistic in a negative sense, right? It's like,
oh yeah, I was going to say, let's go there. Cause I was like, let's go a step further. The step further is that it's the implicit subconscious bias, like all day.
Right.
Like, and it's really explicitly
the water we
presenting
swim
it.
in.
Exactly. It's more about the fact that the paternalistic nature of the country that we live in doesn't believe that the disenfranchised can take care of themselves. They also don't trust that the disenfranchised can wield assets appropriately. And most importantly, they don't want the disenfranchised to wield assets appropriately. Because if we were actually able to do wealth creation, and if any of these social service agencies that we had were able to do the work for real, what sense does it make that you've been around for 100 years and your community is still this impoverished? Right. What does it matter at the end of the day? And it's not, I'm not shaming the social service agency. Yeah. I'm talking about the funders. Yeah. I'm talking about the governmental agencies. I'm talking about the people who got like W-2 jobs and like paid days off and stuff, who are like determining that our nonprofits who work 365 days a year,
366
get paid a little bit of money.
Don't forget.
Oh yeah. Oh, 29th. Yeah. But like, and then it's like, we want to pay ourselves in wages that are like livable as servants. We shouldn't have to have poor servants. This is not Gandhi time. But since we are talking, like, they're like, yo, why is your staff line so high? My staff has families. 4 out of 5 of us have kids. like this is not like, and then you want us to do this work to impact households. We need to be paid in a way that we're not struggling. And I can't have my people having extra jobs or having to do all this extra work because they can't get paid enough here. And then we're supposed to be competitive against a traditional financial institution. I can't get people with all the experience that we desire sometimes because we can't pay them what they're getting paid in the private sector.
Right.
Like it's all part
you
of the
can't
same
compete
cycle,
on that job market. Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing we're talking about with CDFIs versus financial institutions. That's micro. On a macro sense, we shouldn't even need nonprofits.
That's a fact. Right. If this thing was actually taking care of its people. Yeah. Right. No,
if we didn't have like one time, who cares if you have like a balanced budget and like $1 billion budget if you got homeless people on your corners? Who cares? Right. I'd rather you have $0 and nobody homeless.
Right.
Literally.
Then might be more effective. Well, and that's what we were talking a few weeks ago with Amber Bond, the new president of the Alliance, and she was making these comments about, why the Alliance is even necessary. And she's like, it shouldn't be, right? Like it shouldn't be, but it is. And so this is the work we're doing. And once you've given us, I forget what her number was, she might've said 250 years of equity, then we can revisit the conversation. Right. About, what's necessary and what's necessary. But for now, we're going to be here and we're going to be loud. So
we are.
I love it. How do people connect with you, J. Avery? You are brilliant and needed and so brave. but I'm gonna say it in a way. so brave. But I'm gonna say it in a way that says, you already know, Alliance got your back like chiroprac. We walking this thing together, so no being brave by yourself. But how do people connect with your work?
Yeah, appreciate that. All around. First of all, I see our URL scrolling, so thank you very much for that. freedomequity.org is a great way to plug in. There's a contact there. And then if any businesses listening here who are interested in plugging in, get started on that page, and you can get plugged in with our team immediately. And if anybody's looking for me, I think through this LinkedIn Live, I was tagged in there, but let's connect on LinkedIn. I will self-admit I suck at messages and emails, but I'm trying to get better. I'm still working on my 24 resolution.
Right, you have an EA yet.
You say what?
You don't have an EA yet. You better add that on the staff line now. I'm just saying.
I'm trying to add staff on the staff line. Like every time it's like, yes, I need one. It's like, but we also need this for the office. I'd rather put that in there and just like.
Right.
Exactly. Right. Seriously. I use like Calendly because it's Black owned. Yay. Yeah. But then also because it helps me manage my stuff.
Right.
But
I hear you.
So but speak that. I'm gonna give me one.
That's what I'm saying. We're talking about capacity building, right? So that you can actually go out and do more of what you're on the planet to do. Right.
Exactly. Yes. So I do.
It's not a selfish thing.
I finally got me It's not. No, I finally got me a virtual admin. So we're figuring out a little bit, but it's not. I need like an actual dedicated person.
Yeah.
But just let's connect on LinkedIn. And if I shoot you back a message 2 weeks later, do not take offense. And I will usually have my Calendly link in it, so we can go ahead and schedule some time to talk. Because I'm really trying to build partnerships. I don't care where you are in the country. I am. Apparently brazen with it. I literally will, because if I think that we can have a conversation, I really do network on LinkedIn. And sometimes people just blow me off. And sometimes it's like, I see what you're doing. I would love to replicate that here in market. Can I just pick your brain for a minute? Let me just pick your brain for a minute. And then now we're working on a partnership with a company out of New York City, East Coast Capital Holdings. They have a really cool construction finance product that is nothing I've ever seen, nothing we have in the region. And so we're working on forming a partnership here in Columbus. But that started because the CEO of that company was roommates with somebody who he went to Denison. One of his roommates connected with me because he saw what I was doing. We talked. He was like, "Oh, you should meet my old roommate." And then that's true networking on LinkedIn. And so it could be nothing. If it's a business owner and you're trying to get money, don't start with me because I'm gonna waste your time on the response. Go to freedomequity.org, and my team is really responsive, right? Yeah. But keep me out of your way. I'm happy to have conversations with everybody or anybody, answer any questions, share best practices. We have shared our policies, our strategic plan. I don't have any problem. If somebody's trying to do this somewhere else, we will do downloads. We've spent money on this. You don't have to. Mm-hmm. We've already hit barriers. You don't have to go through them. Let's work together. I saw I think it was John a couple weeks ago who was saying the same kind of thing. And I think there's a lot of energy. A lot of us feel the same way.
Yes.
We're trying to make this easier for each other. And that's why I'm really appreciative of the Alliance. I remember when I found out about you guys, I was like, oh man, we're not old enough to be in yet. Shoot. And then I was like, wait, we can be an associate. Yeah.
Oh yeah. You got to do this for the emerging CDFIs. This conversation is literally why the associate membership was born. No. This is a gap. I mean, it's why the Alliance was born in the beginning. There's a gap, and we got to do something because there's nothing for Black-led CDFIs to bring them together and share best practices and talk about what really is going on that it didn't exist. So you make it, right? Which is what you're doing. Something doesn't exist. There's a gap. You're like, nah, not on my watch. Which, by the way, I want to say selfishly, your dad as a community organizer and community development person makes me so happy because it's my two girls, they're in meetings with me. They're hearing these conversations all the time if they're at the house, all this type of stuff. And seeing what that could lead to is very inspiring for me.
Just in their defense,
I think you're the real deal, and so it makes me so encouraged to think about my.
Thank you. Babies. I just want to say, in their defense, I commiserate with them.
Yeah.
Because
I'll send them to you.
Yes, my parents. So my dad did the advocacy. My mom's an entrepreneur, community advocate, and she's actually our board chair for the African American Chamber of Commerce.
Love it.
But she used to make me go to all these meetings, everything. I was like her backpack, right? I was everywhere she went, I went. But the osmosis, the exposure is unparalleled. I don't know too many people who got into this work as young as I have.
Yeah.
And not to be boastful, I didn't know what else to do.
Right.
Like after like this was like what I was supposed to do at that point. But I think that if nothing else, they find out what they don't want to do, and that's as important.
Yep, that's good too. Yeah, they're gonna learn a lot of what to do from me and a lot of what not to do. So that's good. Now, one practical way that I want everybody listening to be involved, and it's gonna cost you about approximately 2 mouse clicks. Share this interview because it exponentially increases the reach of this message of what J. Avery Frost is doing at Freedom Equity. Like it's exponential, and you never know. Even like you were saying, what one connection leads to one connection leads to one. So share it out, even if you don't feel like it's going to do much. This is what it's all about. And it's one practical way you can get involved. So J. Avery, it is so good to have you. This has been wonderful. Thanks for your time. And to everybody tuning in, thanks for being here. You could have been anywhere else. Any last closing thoughts you want to leave the good people with?
Nah, just be bold, do you, and why not, right? Like just go forward strongly. A lot of times we dim ourselves, right? Yeah. I think that's been my mantra. Like, just go bold, be you. Yeah. Beyonce says, when you walk into the room, they notice you. So just go on anyways, beautiful.
That's it. I'm saying? Listen to the Queen
Beyonce.
Bee.
I just had to say that.
I like that we ended on a Beyonce quote. That made my day.
Yeah, she's a business owner. It makes sense.
She is, and brilliant. Just dropped country album. I love it. Love it.
And a new hair product.
Hey, there's some people mad about that too. You already know.
Also true.
All right, let me sign off before I go in. Look at Angela backstage. She's like, don't do it, bro. All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you again next week.
Thank you, guys.
Stands. This is Black Money.
About economic liberation and freedom.
Critical conversations to invigorate our communities through Black-led CDFIs.
But most importantly, we want people to create wealth.
When we look at our communities, we still see a big disinvestment.
Going from resourceful to resourced.
CDFIs have that high touch. They understand their customers. They know how to reach out to those customers. They stay in touch with those customers.
We are trying to create job makers and not just job takers.
Yeah, I've even heard it said recently that great leaders don't lead from the top down, they lead from the bottom up because they're actually lifting everybody.
We have to do more than just being a regular lender.
Don't give me this story about if I teach you how to fish. Give me some money.